Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bitcoin News Weekly Live. I'm your host, Rob Wallace, and today we got a big show ahead of us. So let's dive right in. Okay, Yuval Harari. This guy, you might have seen him, kind of weird looking dude. He may be one of Klaus Schwab's evil henchmen, but when he wrote that Homo sapiens are a storytelling animal that thinks in stories rather than numbers or graphs, he was expressing a real truth about human nature. But what does this have to do with Bitcoin? Well, for the last 10 months, we've had the perfect setup for explosive price gains. A pro Bitcoin administration, record setting ETFs, a global Bitcoin treasury craze. And yet, here we are, the same price as when Trump took office for the second time back in January. And when you look on chain, the data has been brutal and obvious. Long term holders, those who bought at $1,000 or lower and have 100x their gains, are selling. And we're not talking about peeling off a couple coins to buy a new Urus. They are straight up unloading on the market. Since the start of July, long-term holders have sold 363,000 BTC. That's over 3,000 Bitcoin every day for the last 116 days. Since October 13th, long-term holders have sold 163,000 BTC, roughly 9,000 Bitcoin per day for the last 18 days. But these are numbers. And as Harari said, humans like to think in stories, not graphs. Looking for a story to make sense of the data, Bitcoin Twitter decided it couldn't possibly be this simple. Surely, they said, it must be paper Bitcoin being sold into the market, or manipulation, or some secret cabal suppressing the price. But this weekend, Jordi Visser gave the community a story that finally clicked, and it went instantly viral. What if Bitcoin wasn't being manipulated, but instead was finally having its IPO moment? Look at the current market conditions. Early believers in Bitcoin finally have deep liquidity, real institutional liquidity, to match the risk and conviction they showed of over a decade of hodling. Said simply, the market can now absorb billion-dollar reductions in position without collapsing the price. Mike Novogratz told investors that Galaxy sold $9 billion worth of Bitcoin for just one customer in less than a week this year. $9 billion. In 2015, a $100 million sale would have crashed the market. Today, that kind of volume can be absorbed smoothly because the buyers exist. IBIT was the fastest ever ETF to reach $100 billion AUM. Over 175 corporations hold Bitcoin on their balance sheets. Pension funds and fiduciaries are buying. Whales are thus realizing gains, managing liquidity, and selling into strength while global markets sit near all-time highs. And for the rest of us, this creates a maddening sideways grind. NVIDIA now has a $5 trillion market cap, and gold has gone parabolic. But Bitcoin is just endless chop-solidation. That's exactly what happens during IPO distribution periods. Every early investor sells to new investors looking to accumulate. Ownership fragments to new players and price digests, slowly and methodically, like an anaconda swallowing a donkey. And that's totally healthy. It's how Bitcoin evolves from a speculative asset into a global reserve asset. Half of all the Bitcoin was mined in the first 4 years. That early concentration among a small group of cypherpunks was necessary for its early survival. But on a world stage, that's just fragile. Every old coin that moves from a single wallet to thousands of new hands makes the network more anti-fragile. The wild 10x years may be behind us, but the risk of catastrophic collapse is gone too. So what should we expect? Unfortunately, in the short term, probably more boredom. Jordi says that the IPO distributions typically take 6 to 18 months, and we're roughly 6 months in. Expect more chop and frustration even as fundamentals improve. But once the distribution completes and institutions have absorbed the old supply, the path clears and the heavens open up. Bitcoin will be stronger, more resilient, and ready for its next stage, having gone through a period of maturation. Instead of the end of Bitcoin, this is the end of the beginning. The OGs are finally getting paid. Let them have their fun. What comes next is a more mature, more durable Bitcoin at much higher prices. All right, everybody. I hope that made sense. Bitcoin is having its IPO moment, and this is how we get to a multi-dozen trillion market cap. Today, I am very glad to be joined by Pete. Pete at Primal. Primal Pete. How we doing, Pete Marcano?
I would like to disclose I do not work at Primal. It's just how you find me on the internet. I'm doing well. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good. Yes, you do not work at Primal, but you do work at OpenNode.
I
What are you
do.
doing over there?
I'm a software engineer at OpenNode, so we provide a nice, easy solution for businesses who want to accept Bitcoin, and we can help you accept it over Lightning or on-chain or however you want to accept your payments. Convert any chunk of it to dollars if you need to, and then get paid how you need to get paid. Um, it's a fun company. We're doing some interesting, new, innovative stuff. Growing in the miner space a little bit, and it's all cool. It's all Gucci, man. I'm loving it.
Nice, dude. How long have you been into Bitcoin? Tell the people your brief Bitcoin story.
Yeah, so I've been a software developer for more years than I can count at this point. I've been working for myself for a long time, and without somebody, offering me a 401k or an easy default option to, invest some of my earnings into, I had to go looking around and measuring all these different assets myself. And about 7 or 8 years ago, watching the 2017 boom and bust, Bitcoin actually caught my eye. I dismissed it about 1,000 times before that. You know how everybody does. Nobody believes it on the first, encounter. You have to watch it do its thing a few cycles before you really catch on. Um, and then I just kind of got hooked. I read all the books of the time, studied the literature, and then as a software engineer, I just got more and more invested into it, and I started learning as much as I can, reading books like Mastering Bitcoin, trying to take different online classes, listen to technical podcasts, attend local bit devs meetups, and just kind of absorb as much information as I could until I finally was, I guess, qualified enough to to find a nice little Bitcoin job where I get to keep working on Bitcoin and making it better for the market.
No, it's a great story. It's one you hear often in Bitcoin where you just become obsessed. You're an auto dictat. You teach yourself and you wind up with a job because you've got the skills, you've got the passion, and no one else can do it like you do now. So no, dude, props to you. Very happy that you're able to find such a great role and help out. And we know each other from Jersey City Bitcoin Meetup. We got some Jersey City Bitcoin Meetup people in the chat here, I think. Let's go, guys. We meet the second Thursday of every month. Check it out. Go look if you're in the area. Pete drives up from another part of Jersey to join us, and we get it going. Give a brief promo for Jersey City Bitcoin Meetup. Why should people come?
Oh, it's like the most low-lift Bitcoin meetup you'll ever attend. You just sit at a bar, grab a drink, and just chat with local plebs. It's a lot of fun. Always interesting characters that come. I feel like just being right next to New York City, but kind of a little out of the way. We get lots of interesting new faces, lots of cool stories. I've met a lot of people across different businesses. Everybody from people who work in marketing and sales and developers and founders, and met you run bitcoinnews.com. We've been chatting for years now. I don't know, it's just a great place to meet people. And if you don't live in Jersey, you can just attend whatever local meetup you do have. Like, get out there, meet your local Bitcoiners, build something great together.
Agreed. 100%. All right. Awesome. That's enough chit chat. Let's get straight into the brass tacks. Today, we are here to discuss the Bitcoin News Weekly latest edition entitled Bitcoin's IPO Moment, a seismic market shift hiding in plain sight. Jordi Visser, great market analyst. He shows up on Pomp a lot. He just put out this piece explaining why Bitcoin's sideways price movement is a natural phase of ownership, shifting from cypherpunks to institutional players. This piece took control of Bitcoin Twitter this last weekend. Really insightful. We're going to dive into it. But yes, if you haven't signed up for the newsletter yet, sign on up. Go to weekly.bitcoinnews.com. Put in your email. You'll get it every Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern. And then join us live at 11 a.m. where we talk about it with a new guest every week. And today we got Pete. Very glad to have Pete join us today. So let's dive right in. We got, first off, in our adoption section where we like to start every week, BitChat. Pete's been messing around with BitChat, and BitChat is not only just a fun little messaging tool, it proves itself extremely useful in quite extreme situations. So BitChat just became Jamaica's second most downloaded app amid Hurricane Melissa, enabling encrypted internet-free communication via Bluetooth mesh networks as connectivity across the Caribbean collapses. So yes, we saw this last week. There was a really brutal hurricane that hit Jamaica. And of course, when you got a situation like this with telephone poles down, power out, the ability to communicate is, of course, severely limited. However, if you have this app, BitChat, you can talk with each other. So, Pete, from a technical standpoint, explain BitChat, how it works, and why it's useful in these kind of situations.
Yeah. Let's take it from a very high level because I'm not too familiar with the low levels of the protocol that they've developed here. But Jack Dorsey had actually built the BitChat app originally. I think he vibe coded it. He was just kind of, I don't know if he was bored one weekend. I feel like if I were Jack, I'd have a lot of stuff going on. Maybe I wouldn't be sitting around just vibe coding apps. But he was really interested in tackling this problem of building these communication tools, these social networks, a lot like Twitter, a lot like Nostr, but doing it in such a way that you don't have to go through a third party in order to communicate from party A to party B. So when he developed BitChat, it like resembles one of those old IRC clients that you would have seen maybe playing along the early internets in the 90s and the 2000s. Some people still use them today. But it's just simply texting and chat in like almost like a chat room where you can't really control who comes in and out of it. So on the surface, it looks pretty boring. But under the hood, it gets really interesting because instead of going through like a Facebook server or a Twitter server or, Meta, or I don't know, whoever has these servers now to communicate with one another, my phone can actually just over Bluetooth connect to a handful of other phones around me in the area. And when I send a message, it goes directly to those other phones without having to go through a third party, which proves to be like very useful in all sorts of random contexts. One being like a Jamaica hurricane, right? So the internet goes down. All these people are kind of stranded. Who has supplies? Who has a need? How do we communicate with each other? BitChat offers a pretty novel solution there. So even without power, people can still communicate over distances. One of the drawbacks of Bluetooth as the mechanism is that you don't have a huge like radius of people that you can actually talk to. You're very limited in like, I think it's like 100 meters, maybe that even seems too big. You're pretty limited on how far a Bluetooth connection can reach from one phone to the next. So what's really interesting about BitChat itself is that it kind of operates like a little mini Bitcoin node. So in Bitcoin, when we connect to everybody else on the network, we only need to connect to like a handful of people near us, and our messages and our transactions get relayed from me to you to the next person, whatever. And we can kind of expand across all hundreds of thousands of nodes or whatever in the Bitcoin network, even if we're just connected to a handful. So BitChat works in a very similar way. My phone doesn't need to connect to everybody in the network. Just if I can get to somebody and then they can get to somebody else, the messages get relayed. So even if you have like an entire city, the entire city can communicate with one another just by relaying messages within their small radius.
Yeah, no, it's extremely cool technology. It's surprising that this is just the first time that this has really gotten popular, right? And I mean, I guess one of the reasons is because it's geographically limited. But it's find itself useful in very certain situations, such as a disaster area. And one thing I saw was that you can actually put like geotags on areas to say, hey, avoid this area. There might be like a power line down, something very dangerous, or there's supplies in another place. So you can tell people who are connected via the network where certain things are, which I think is really cool. And this was also a huge factor in the protest movements that we've seen across the world, whether it's Malaysia or especially in Nepal. They straight up overthrew the government and used BitChat to help them do that, because the whole riot started because they were shutting down social media access, and so they had to find an alternative, and BitChat found its way into their hands. So
Yeah,
very
it's
interesting technology.
super interesting. I mean, like the use cases, we can go on these like very kind of catastrophic, like hurricane or big protests or whatever. But I've even heard of like more simpler use cases, like going to a conference and the speaker goes like, "Oh, just open up BitChat on your phone and just shoot over a message if you want me, like if you have questions for me." And just the idea that people don't have to like join a specific Wi-Fi network, download like a third app or something like that, and then have to like figure out which room it is. Like just the setup of just open the app, type the message, hit send, and I'll find it is just kind of like a very, very cool and interesting use case. I'm a big fan. I'm excited with a lot of developments they've had integrating Nostr and Cashew and all these other cool projects with it. I think it's just, to the moon, rocket ship.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we should also mention, of course, that you can send Bitcoin over BitChat via eCash, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just text. So if you can send if you can send a Bitcoin through any other median or medium is the right word. You can use any other medium to send Bitcoin. BitChat is also a great use case, and Cashew makes it really easy because you don't need an internet connection to send Cashew tokens either.
Let's go. Yeah. So, prayers, thoughts to the people in Jamaica dealing with that very difficult situation. But hopefully, technology helped make it a little bit lighter load on them. So yes, let's go continue on with the adoption section. In a little bit different news here, we got Stake and Shake. They launch a strategic Bitcoin reserve, pledging to allocate the entirety of their Bitcoin payments to it and to donate 210 sats from every Bitcoin meal to Open Sats over the next year. So yeah, Stake and Shake is doubling down on their Bitcoin initiative. I mean, the biggest signal, of course, is when people start going and buying more burgers, and that is exactly what's been happening because same store sales have seen an increase of 15% in the most recent quarter, and I think that beats all their other competitors, as they say here. So they're definitely onto something, and it seems as if they're getting in with the lingo. They're starting a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They are donating to Open Sats. And then there's also this thing where you can make your Bitcoin steak burger delicious bargain when you purchase and register with Fold app. You get $5 in free Bitcoin when you buy it through Fold. So very cool stuff here. Peter, do you think that this is the real deal? Do you believe Stake and Shake are real Bitcoiners? And what do you think about this strategic Bitcoin reserve for a burger joint?
I mean, I think everybody should have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, but back in my day, we just called it hodling. And then now all of a sudden we have a new generation and new lingo for the same behavior. You just get some Bitcoin, you try to hold on to it. I haven't had Steak and Shake. I don't know. Is it good? Have you had any?
I have not, unfortunately.
I don't have them by me. We got to find one. We'll do a little outing. But no, anytime you see a merchant selling something and trading Bitcoin for their goods and services is a good bull signal for me. Ideally, we all live in a world that as Bitcoiners, we can hold the one asset we care most about, and we don't have to worry about dollars or be dependent on, intermediaries and third parties and governments to manage our money and do these sorts of things. So the quicker that, me and everybody I know that likes Bitcoin can live on Bitcoin and use Bitcoin for everything, the better this entire, experiment goes. So
Yeah, and so they started this earlier in the year, about 6 months ago, I believe, and it does seem as if it's been a resounding success. They had that one weird moment where they posted a poll on Twitter. You're not on X, so you might not know about this, but they posted a poll on X that says, "Should we open it up to ETH as well?" And there was huge backlash. And then within an hour or two, they quote tweeted it and said, "Sorry, the intern got crazy. Like we're taking this down. We're not doing this. We're not doing this." But I mean, they are also donating to Open Sats. What's your opinion on Open Sats, and do you think that that's the right move for them?
They're free to do whatever they want, and I think if they want to support Open Sats, that's a good idea. For people who don't know, a lot of Bitcoin development happens in open source, meaning that we write software, like the broader community. I work for a private company. We don't do this all the time, but we write software. We distribute it out for free. We look for feedback. We try to be totally transparent with our process, and nobody really directly pays you to work on it most of the time. There's not a lot of economic reasons to do so. So a lot of it is currently grant funded, and we've become this massive asset class by having strong software that can support all of it. That's kind of been given away for more or less free, but just because that we receive it for free doesn't mean that it doesn't cost time, attention, and resources to make it. So you kind of need these grants and these kind of nonprofit entities to find the developers who are capable of making Bitcoin this global asset, like both secure and scalable, and do all these sorts of things, and make sure that they can put food in their mouths and focus on what's important without being distracted. So there's lots of different companies and organizations that will fund these open source developers. OpenSats is kind of very interesting. One of them, Jack Dorsey's been a big contributor to the OpenSats movement. They hold all of their stuff in Bitcoin within a multi-sig. They're super transparent about their processes. They fund things across eCash and Bitcoin and Nostr and Lightning, and And they've just, I mean, they've done the proof of work. They've been in it for a long time. They funded a lot of great stuff. And yeah, the more that we can support our open source developers, the better we'll be.
Do you think that the open source development grant process is working as it should? Is it fully functional right now? There's been lots of community uproar about core, of course, and the people who might be funding it. So yeah, what's your opinion on all this?
I think it's hard to speak in absolutes. I generally err on the side of we should have more commercial work. We should have more open source work. We just need more of everything. I don't think there's enough of anything. There's not enough businesses that are working hard on making good stuff. There's not enough open source. Like, more irons in the fire, the better. With that being said, I think sometimes it's hard to follow the incentives of a lot of this open source stuff. You go, if nobody's paying you, like, what are you really motivated by? Maybe somebody's like, paying you to put some backdoor into Bitcoin and is trying to take down everything. And it's like, okay, you can make these accusations, but like, I'm showing you my work. So point to the part of the code that's actually broken. So like, I don't know how you really argue with somebody who's doing all their work open and transparently. So do I know? I don't know really. Who can know what happens all the time? But we just hope that, I mean, we see this a lot. There's a lot of open source stuff that's not Bitcoin related too that also thrives, right? Like the entire Linux Foundation that does all of the Linux work that made this open source operating system. There wasn't like a line of people contributing to it and funding it. And now, like, anytime there's a bug in it, it's almost discovered like very, very quickly. There's a lot of these like 0 days that are caught and stopped before they're a big deal. And I think the important part is that this like open source work is out there and being viewed by lots and lots of people. And yes, we should obviously be supporting it. We should be helping people if they want to support it, make sure that they have everything they need if they want to, go through the grueling process of doing this. But I don't know. I think if you're going to accuse people of doing shady stuff, like, come with receipts, like show me the shady stuff that they're doing, bring receipts, or I just kind of think you're grandstanding. This is why I'm not on X either. It gets too much. It's so good for my mental health to get off of X.
And as a developer in Bitcoin, does it take a different specific set of skills to work on Bitcoin and these projects compared to regular software development?
It depends on what you're doing. A lot of the stuff is not necessarily like much harder. It's just different than what most developers work on. Like, I'm a web developer, so I build stuff like websites and web apps and things like that. If I were to work on Bitcoin Core, I'd have to learn like a new language and like rethink about the architecture of how this thing works, because apps that run on desktops or computers are slightly different than ones that you want to run at like massive scales for the web. But with that being said, it's learnable. Even if you're not a developer, you can kind of sit down, go to your bit devs, and ingest enough of it to understand like what's happening behind the scenes. You don't have to be an absolute expert to, get more knowledgeable. There's been more resources now than ever before. I don't think it's like a shadowy super coder thing that a lot of people want you to believe it is. It's accessible. It's approachable.
You heard it here first, kids. If you want to get involved in Bitcoin development, it's up to you. Nice. Okay. And now to round out the adoption section, we got Bitcoin month kicking off in El Salvador, November. This is a big one. We got 3 conferences. We got Bitcoin Historico, Adopting Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Economia, with speakers ranging from Jeff Booth to Jack Mallers. Even comedian Russell Brand is making the trip down there this month. So if you look at these 3 different conferences, they focus on different things. So Bitcoin Historico will be in downtown San Salvador, being hosted by the El Salvadorian government. Max and Stacy are putting it together. They're getting the really big names like Jeff Booth and Russell Brand and whatnot to come down and speak there. This will be the first time that this conference is happening. So they are starting it off. And then we got Adopting Bitcoin in the middle of the month. And so I've been to Adopting Bitcoin twice the last 2 years. Unfortunately, I will not be going this year, but I would have to say this is probably my favorite conference of them all across the globe that I've been to. It's focused on the developers and builders, super tight knit, very cool location. They did last year. They're doing it there again. It's sort of in the jungle a little bit, about a 20-minute drive outside of San Salvador, and just great vibes. really good vibes, and you're in El Salvador, of course, right? Bitcoin country. And then we got the last one. This will be the first iteration of this Bitcoin Economia. It is happening in Berlin, which is one of the Bitcoin circular economies. I would say number 2, growing quickly in the mountains of El Salvador. Bitcoin Beach, of course, was the first one. It helped inspire President Bukele to start the Bitcoin initiatives in El Salvador. And now we've got another Bitcoin circular economy growing up in the mountains in Berlin. And Bitcoin Economia is focusing on these circular economies and showing how to bring that to your own local community. So, Pete, have you ever been to El Salvador?
I have not had the pleasure yet. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah, you got to go. And yeah, if anybody's on the fence right now, if you're free over the next couple of weeks, you got nothing to do and some Bitcoin burning a hole in your pocket, hop on a flight, go down to El Salvador. There's lots of stuff going on, and it's a great place to meet people, get involved with the Bitcoin community around the world, and to just to see it for your own eyes. Visiting San Salvador, going there 2 years in a row. I mean, it's just really amazing how this was one of the most brutal, violent places on planet Earth. And when I went there, completely safe in terms of walking around in the dead of night by myself, iPhone out, looking at it, no fear, and just felt really cool. A lot of smiling people. And when the economy has taken a turn for the positive and you see cranes and buildings going up, it's there's a general positivity, and the people are very welcoming, very friendly country from what I've observed going there the last 2 years. Yes. Okay, cool. So yes, of these 3 guys, Jeff Booth, Jack Mallers, or Russell Brand, which speech would you go to if you had to make a choice?
I've heard Jeff Booth and Jack Mallers talk a lot. I want to hear what Russell Brand has to say about Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. Wow. I was not expecting that. Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I actually don't know his involvement in Bitcoin. I feel like I'm out of the loop. This is what happens when you leave X. You have no idea what's happening anymore in the public Bitcoin opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he has much to do with Bitcoin. I do know that in 13 or 14, Max Kaiser gifted him 1,000 Bitcoin, and he lost it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oof.
But
big oof.
But he has been a big proponent of El Salvador. I think he went there maybe for the first time last year and made some videos, talked about it, how he's a big fan of Bukele and what's going on there. So I think he's going down to support. Crazy.
All right. Good for him.
Good for him. Good for Russell.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's a good place. It's definitely worth a vacation trip if you have the opportunity. Check out El Salvador.
All right.
Cool. Yes. All right. So legal now. California fines Bitcoin ATM operator CoinHub $675,000 for overcharging customers and violating state rules on fees, cash limits, and required disclosures. Bitcoin ATMs are having a rough time of it as of late. Did you ever buy off a Bitcoin ATM?
I have never. I thought about it a couple of times, especially now that they're like in every Costco across the country. But like these California regulators are noticing, I notice like as a Bitcoiner, whenever I go to these ATMs, the price is significantly higher than when it is on the exchange elsewhere online. And it always kind of looked suspicious to me. But I don't know. Maybe that's just my own biases creeping in. But I did talk to one guy at one of our meetups. He owned like 6 different ATMs, and he was telling me that like the reason it's higher is because like it's not really competitive. Like most people who use these ATMs don't even like know where to go online to get it. Like they've only heard of Bitcoin and they saw the sign of their gas station, so they walked in. And he's like, most of them are getting scammed. So I'm like, oh, like your ransomware grandma that like knows that she has to do Bitcoin and she doesn't know what that means, and the scammers like go to your local ATM and pick up some because like that's familiar to them. I don't know. I know at some point there were kind of like KYC free options on the ATMs, but I think even that kind of got cracked down a little bit. So you still need to KYC through them. I don't know the benefit of using the ATM other than maybe it's convenient for somebody.
Yeah, it's a foot in the door, right? I think that some people are exposed to Bitcoin for the first time, seeing a Bitcoin ATM, but that was probably much more likely 5, 7, 8 years ago than it is today, right? If you're gonna get Bitcoin, you've probably read about it on the internet and know that there are ways to buy it over the internet rather than having to go to a physical location. And the spread, you're right, the spread is pretty insane. It's really tough to get a competitive price on an ATM, and they're also used for a lot of scams. And I actually have a video I'd like you to check out with me right now.
Yeah, I'm game.
Regarding that.
She's at $23,000 already.
Where's she at right now?
In the corner over here.
Hey, ma'am,
Yes.
Can I talk to you for a second?
Please, I have the bank on the phone.
Okay, let me talk to who you're talking to on the bank.
I'm in danger. This
Okay,
is
no, you're
Chase
not,
Bank.
ma'am.
This is Chase Bank.
Let me talk to them. Okay, stop putting money in there. Yeah, who is this?
This is the security team. So Christine,
No, you're not. My name is Sergeant Stewart, and I'm with the White Settlement Police Department. Okay, if you're really with a security team, you call my dispatch right now.
Okay, let me speak to the customer.
No, you're not going to speak to the customer
Let me
anymore.
speak to the customer.
No, you're not speaking to the customer anymore. Chase Bank does not take Bitcoin.
Please allow me to speak to the customer.
No, you're not going to speak with the customer anymore. If you were in my presence right now, you would be in handcuffs going to jail.
Problem. What you are trying to do, Christine? Just click on
You still haven't gotten her name right, you freaking moron. You don't even have her name right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a scary world out there, man. I mean, these scammers, they have a way of, scaring people into compliance, right? So they catch you with a couple bits of your own personal information that they found on you somewhere. They sound legitimate. They give you some sort of urgency, and they make you do things that are kind of irrational, and it's kind of terrifying. I feel bad for everybody who's been through this process. Hopefully that you learn early that, hey, don't do anything like rash. Always check who's talking to you. If you feel like the bank is calling you and it might not be the bank, just say, I'm going to hang up and call you back, and hang up and then call them back on a number that you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I feel bad, but that video is kind of funny.
Yeah,
It's a little funny.
a lot of things going on. In that video.
It's like, you're not even getting her name right.
A lot of layers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you're right. The first thing that the woman said is, I'm in danger, right?
Yeah.
I'm on the phone with Chase Bank and I'm in danger.
Right.
It doesn't really work that way, but they can make you social engineering. Actually, my own father was a victim of one of these. Well, he didn't actually pay any money, but he was put in a position where they said, hey, this is the Jersey power company, and we're going to shut down your power if you don't give us a couple $100 over Bitcoin immediately. And you need to drive down to this location, this convenience store, and send it to us right now, or we're turning your power off. And so he hung up and called me, and I was like, no, that's a complete scam. Don't you worry about it at all. But yeah, they're targeting older people, and they're trying to get them to hand over their money via Bitcoin. Why? Because it's final settlement, right? Once that money is sent, you cannot get it back. Really tough. But yes, as Nima said in the chat, best thing to do is to teach your loved ones. Sit down, talk to them. Yeah. And it's true with AI. I mean, they're going to be able to copy your voice so easily. They already can, right? That's one thing that I think about, like with all these random calls that like you call, you pick up, and then they don't say anything. And even if you just say a couple words, could they clone your voice from like a hello, is anyone there? That's kind of
especially someone like you or me, who we have like hours of recorded podcasts and things, and our voice is just out there. I mean, somebody can make me say anything at this point, and how terrifying is that? So I always like tell my family members, I was like, if it sounds suspicious, like hang up, call me back, try to FaceTime me. Like, we're not going to do anything sensitive over the phone. Another good tip is, like, if you got like parents or loved ones or grandparents or something, and you're worried that, they're going to get scammed and they're going to impersonate you or something like that, like set up just like a password or something with them and say like, hey, like we have a secret code between you and me, and unless I say like Pine Tree, like don't believe it's me, or like ask me for the password ahead of time, or send them a text, or do something. Try to validate who you're talking to, because it's going to get harder and harder.
100%. The secret code word is so important. Set it up with all your loved ones, and yeah, just let them know that this is out there and it's happening. So I think just that awareness to begin with as a base layer is extremely important, because when emotions get hot, oh man, things can happen.
Yeah.
And with emotions getting hot, a lot of emotions got very hot back 10 years ago plus, when Mt. Gox collapsed. And so they have repaid over 11,000 Bitcoin, but it seems as if there's 36,000 Bitcoin still waiting distribution to creditors, and they've pushed it back once again, one more year, to October 2026. So Mt. Gox was before your time, before you got interested in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, it was the the scary like tale that you would learn about. It was like, this thing just happened a couple years ago. Everybody who had their Bitcoin on the exchange lost it. And I mean, I think this is still relevant, not because these Mt. Gox people are like huge Bitcoiners, which I'm sure they are, but like even an exchange you trust today, we'll just call it Coinbase because they're kind of like the big name in exchanges. They might be backed up. They might have like creditors and they might have processes in place to refund your Bitcoin if they lose it. But the question is, how long does that take, right? Mt. Gox happened now almost 10 years ago. It's 11 years ago. Under 2014, did that go under?
Yeah, 2014. Yeah,
2014, right? Like people still don't have their money, right? Even if you might get your money, the timeline in which it takes for you to get your money could be huge, right? Like if I'm stacking Bitcoin hypothetically, and not, you know, boat accidents, not yada yada, but like I'm stacking Bitcoin to pay for things in my life, like houses, families, things like that. Like you have a purpose. The Bitcoin isn't, you need to exchange it for something. That's what gives it value. Not having it and having an IOU and not being able to cash that in for some undisclosed amount of time, it's no good. Thankfully, I think a lot of the Mt. Gox creditors got their money back. I looked into this a little bit. It looks like a lot of the holdup is like people overseas that they have to like verify that these people actually had funds on Mt. Gox, and it's kind of hard to get that back. But yeah, don't spend a lot of time keeping your money on exchanges. Get it off as quick as possible and put it somewhere safe that you're less likely to get rugged, even if it's an accident.
Yes, we are huge proponents of cold storage. Of course, buy the Bitcoin from a place you trust and then take it into your own self-custody. Be responsible, be sovereign. But it's important that you are trustful of the people that you buy your Bitcoin from. And today we are very thankful to the team over at Rhino Bitcoin. They are the sponsor of the show, and we highly recommend that if you are going out to buy Bitcoin, you should buy it through them. Bitcoin through Rhino is a simple no-brainer. Why? Because Rhino is the all-in-one Bitcoin super app built by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. Of course, you can buy or sell your Bitcoin instantly, and you got a Lightning wallet in the app, so you can send your Bitcoin anywhere quickly, just like that, right? And so Rhino is a huge proponent of cold storage. You can withdraw your Bitcoin to cold storage as soon as you buy it, of course. And they've got a setup with Casa. So if you've got a Casa multi-sig, this can be one of your keys to that multi-sig setup. And then if you've got sats on the Rhino app, you can turn them into gift cards right there instantaneously, and you get discounts and Bitcoin back for buying cards through Rhino. And Rhino is just warming up. Soon you'll be able to pay your bills, borrow against your Bitcoin, and stack for retirement without leaving the app. So go ahead today, download Rhino at rhinobitcoin.com. And just if you're watching on YouTube, tap the link down below and you'll go there right away. Use the code Bitcoin News and Rhino will drop you $10 of free Bitcoin into your account. No questions asked. Secure your stack with Rhino right now, because you got to buy Bitcoin from a place you trust. You don't want to get rugged. And some of these things, some places like Coinbase, it's like the biggest honeypot in the world. When you got Rhino, they're a team, they're new, you're fresh, they're very easy to get in contact. You can trust that they are there and they will help you on your Bitcoin journey. There's also ways to learn about Bitcoin on the app. So lots of cool things. You got to check out Rhino yourself. We highly recommend. Thank you to Rhino. And now, Pete, I would like to ask you, have you ever been at a real Bitcoin mine, like a big one?
I've never been at a big one, but I have a couple miners. I've heard them run.
You've heard them run, so you know that they're loud.
They can get quite noisy.
They cause problems because of their loudness, especially if you've got 60,000 of them in one place. And that's what the people in Hood County are dealing with. So they're looking to incorporate as a city, and Mara is suing them to block them from doing so. They want to incorporate, they try to fight against Mara to stop this Bitcoin mine because it's just so loud and it's causing some headaches. So, I mean, of course, we're fans of Bitcoin mining. We know that Bitcoin mining does a great job of doing things such as balancing the grid and allows for the power grid they can shut them off if they need to provide more power when times are hard and there's a big strain on the grid, or they provide monetization to the power grid when there isn't enough demand. But there is some human factor here. And so we've got this this Bitcoin mine in Hood County, Texas, and this city wants to incorporate so they can sue Mara and try to stop them from building out this Bitcoin mine even further. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? Do you think they have legs to stand on?
Well, it's not a good PR look either way, so I wouldn't want to be in this position. Yeah, honestly, I don't know too much. Like, why Hood? Why is this the mining? What kind of energy do they have there? Why is it so desirable to mine there? Do you have any idea?
That's a good question. I mean, it is Texas. We are in a natural gas and oil hotbed of America, right? Mara did put up soundproofing barriers after the complaints began and says it replaced many of the noisier fans with more quiet equipment, but neighbors say the noise is still too much. So, yeah, I mean, this is a real life issue. And we love, of course, to praise Bitcoin mining, but you also got to talk about some things that are not as rosy. And this is one of them. Hopefully, this can get resolved. And I mean, there's steps they can take, such as immersion mining. Immersion is much quieter, right? But Bitcoin mining is also, it's a pioneer species, and it goes out there, and these miners are built to be rugged and withstand the elements, and they can be noisy. So,
yeah, I mean, chips get hot. Chips need to be cooled down. Those fans got to spin. I don't know. Yeah, there's other ways to cool Bitcoin miners, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want one of these in my backyard either. I think that would be kind of annoying. I kind of like the Bitcoin miner off in the middle of nowhere, chewing on energy that nobody was going to use anyway, kind of approach to it. But
yes,
I don't know. I think I'm going to have to hear it for myself to know how bad it is.
And yeah, I do think that these large industrial Bitcoin mines, they're sort of like a odd factoid of our current setup, whereas in the future it'll be much more distributed and be at the stranded energy at the point of in the wilderness, right?
One can hope. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Okay, let's go into the markets. This one really made some big splash this week. Lava launches the world's first Bitcoin-backed line of credit, enabling efficient borrowing and an upcoming payment card that allows users access to dollars without disposing of their Bitcoin or triggering taxable events. So this is essentially a Bitcoin-backed credit card, right? When you save in Bitcoin, you protect your wealth. Your money belongs to you. No one can debase it, and it grows over time. But it's not just about saving. You got to be able to use it, right? It's about what savings makes possible. So you are going to be able to unlock your Bitcoin purchasing power without selling it to get a Bitcoin-backed line of credit, just like a credit card. And it stays always open. Borrow any amount you want. Lowest rate in history. Yeah, they say 5% is the rate here, which seems pretty crazy.
Yes, that's promising.
Much lower. And there's been some questions as to like, are they using VC money to be able to provide that rate to the market to get in and make a splash in the beginning? We've got to figure out how they're able to provide a rate that's essentially half of what these other Bitcoin-backed credit options provide. So yeah, did you hear about this? What do you think?
This team at Lava has been working on this for a long time, so big shout out to them. Good congratulations moment. They been working hard. Good to see them launch this. One of the things that I'm super amped about is just seeing how they actually pulled this off, right? You can take your Bitcoin into this app without doing any KYC or any sort of like information gathering. You can just tap a button, lock up the Bitcoin, and get your loan out real quick, like within 5 seconds. And they do this by doing like on-chain stuff with discrete log contracts. So you can actually like lock up Bitcoin in this kind of trust minimized way. And I think this is just a great example of how, all this DeFi stuff that these altcoins have been promoting for years have always been possible in Bitcoin. It looks a little bit different. It doesn't have those like fancy kind of smart contract stuff, but it is possible. And I just like the idea that you can kind of get a loan against your Bitcoin at a good rate in a self-custodial way without having to trust a lot of intermediaries and can't get there's no rehypothecation. You can see your funds safe on chain. Like there's a lot of cool stuff coming out of that. And the fact that they can pair it with a nice card so you can go around and actually like use it is another big thing. Yeah, big shout out to these Lava people. They've been working at it for a long time, and it's cool to see this launch. And yeah, again, more options is always good. It would be kind of a shame if all of these Bitcoiners okay, we've been holding for all of these years and it's appreciated in price, and now the only way to kind of continue that price appreciation while having some funds to live off of, is to like go back to IBIT and give it to a custodian. Like that would be a big shame. So I'm kind of happy to see these sorts of alternative paths being opened using the technology that we all know and love.
You're right. And I mean, that's how we opened up the show, right? These whales are looking to unload some Bitcoin or a lot of Bitcoin, 400,000 plus Bitcoin since July. So yeah, I mean, you got to be able to access the purchasing power that you've been able to save and grow over time. And this definitely seems like the most intuitive, easy, fun way to do it, right? To have a card, especially much better than having to lock up your Bitcoin and get a lump sum of cash and then have to think about paying it back and all this time. And like you just,
and you also only owe interest, I think, on the Bitcoin that you use. So
Mhm.
if you take out, like, let's play with big numbers because they're fun. I got 10 Bitcoin and I lock it all up, and that's what, $1 million, and I have access to 50% of it, right? Like I'm not immediately paying interest on $500,000, which would be kind of defeats the purpose a little bit, right? Like now all of a sudden I have this big bill I can't pay. But being able to kind of piecemeal it and treat it like a just a credit or a spending account, and be able to walk around and make payments without having to lose upside is pretty awesome. I don't actually know where all this funding comes from. I did see that people can basically offer dollars and get yield on dollars that they offer for their lines of credit, but who knows? None of this stuff is easy. None of it's straightforward. There's always risks. Do your own research. But yeah, I'm just kind of bullish to see more native on-chain leveraging the awesome powers that Bitcoin has had since like day one, and using all this kind of great functionality to build a better alternative than what we have today.
Had you been following this lava story? It sounds like you.
I watched a presentation by their founder at one of the New York City Bit Devs a while back. That's kind of what put me on their put them on my radar. And I've been following them very loosely since then. But it seems to be a really cool team. They did get some VC backing, but as long as they can show all my funds on chain, I don't care. So, right, as long as my funds are protected by the blockchain, I'm pretty confident in it. So yeah, seems interesting.
Speaking of a firm with a lot of funds on the blockchain, S&P Global Ratings assigned Strategy a B- issuer, a B- issuer credit rating. So that's essentially junk status, but it gave them a stable outlook, marking the first time a major agency has rated a Bitcoin treasury company. So yeah, this was a big deal. First time in history that a Bitcoin treasury company received a credit rating, and it was by B-, but we got a outlook stable look here, right? So S&P said that they have a high Bitcoin concentration, narrow business focus, and a weak risk-adjusted capitalization and low US dollar liquidity. So yeah, they're listing off a lot of reasons why they did not give them a higher credit rating here. But of course, Saylor had to spin it and said, hey, this is the first time anybody in our business has gotten one of these things. And it's a big deal, right? You need to get your foot in the door. And they have done that here. So a B-.
All of those all those reasons, if you scroll back up, I think those are all positives. Call me crazy, but a high Bitcoin concentration, positive. That means you got a lot of upside, right? Narrow business focus means, slim operating, very focused, weak risk adjusted. I mean, they're just all in on Bitcoin and low dollar liquidity. Like, why not go for it?
Come on.
What was happening in MicroStrategy before Bitcoin? Nobody knows.
They weren't getting credit rating,
Yeah, like they weren't getting credit ratings. So yeah, good for them. I got B- in school. It was okay. We can handle a B- here or there.
So yes, B- is considered speculative, or what analysts call junk grade, and it means the company can meet its debt obligations for now, but faces significant risk if market conditions deteriorate. So yeah, it's there's investment grade and there's speculative grade, and they're about right here on the scale right there. Debt maturities, interest on the company's debt, and dividends on its preferred securities are all due in dollars, while Strategy holds mostly Bitcoin, the agency said. Yes, this is true. But we all think
lava. They'll just use lava and take out a loan and pay it off.
Boom, boom, baby. There we go.
Full circle.
Full circle. But yeah, a lot of analysts say don't have to worry about what S&P is talking about over here. TD Cowen reaffirmed their buy rating on strategy with a price target of $620, which implies 100% upside. If we take a look at MSTR right now, I mean, it's been a crazy day, right? That's a 5-minute though. So let's go back a little bit.
Got to zoom out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this was last year, right? This was last November, and it went from $247 up to $548. So, I mean, I remember that last year. It was absolutely bananas time. Everybody thinking that this was never going to end. This was going to be a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 stock by this time this year. Not so much. I think they've had to slow down a little bit, consolidate, and now we're exactly pretty much where we were a year ago. But we'll see what happens next. Saylor ain't stopping.
I was gonna say his average buy-in is like 30,000 or something like that. I forgot.
No, it's up to $75,000.
Okay.
$75,000.
Yeah, he can't stop
but
buying. But still, he's still in the green. Or
Still in the
black,
green.
whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing fine. Nobody's worried yet.
What's your opinion on Saylor these days, and has it changed over the last year or so?
I would rather just own the underlying asset and not worry about what Saylor's doing. That's kind of my MO. But I don't know. I haven't been following Saylor. Another beautiful part about being off of X and not paying attention to what Michael Saylor is doing. Like, ideally, in an ideal world, we shouldn't have to worry about what other people are doing with their Bitcoin. Bitcoin is what it is. I'm doing what I'm doing. We'll work it out. We'll get ahead. And that kind of goes for everyone. I think you shouldn't care too much.
The only thing you got to care about is Bitcoin itself. And this last week, we saw quite the big name mention Bitcoin. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent marked the 17th anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper with an X post saying the Bitcoin network is more resilient than ever. So this is pretty nuts. I mean, you could say that he's a top 4, top 5 ranking member of the U.S. government right now, and he on white paper day, at the end of the day, 5:53 p.m., came out and said 17 years after the white paper, the Bitcoin network is still operational and more resilient than ever. Bitcoin never shuts down. And then he had to jab the opposing party, of course, saying Senate Dems could learn something from that. So never miss an opportunity. Never miss an opportunity to dunk on the opposition. But yeah, I mean, white paper day, 17 years after the white paper was released, we've got the Secretary Treasury of the United States coming out and praising Bitcoin. Is this mind blowing to you?
I mean, it's definitely crazy, right? I mean, not that long ago, we would have been like preparing for war with our governments because they were going to, ban all of the exit off ramps and stuff and make Bitcoin nothing. And now all of the, at least all the individuals that are kind of running in office are seem to be a lot of Bitcoiners in the positions. But I think there's a distinct difference to be made before you get too bullish between like the individuals that are at the helm and also the organizations as a whole. Like, we do live in a democratically kind of elected like government representation. So it's not just one person's opinion. It's kind of the opinion of everybody. We kind of all have to be in it together, which means I think governments are still going to be kind of slow moving to adopt it, as long as this is kind of their structure. This is kind of when those like more authoritarian centralized governments are probably going to act a little quicker when it comes to Bitcoin adoption. You got like your monarchies and your kings and queens. Like Bhutan is a kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, like they can kind of like just fire up Bitcoin miners and get ahead of the curve because they can move fast. Like, our government's not like that. So bullish to see the people in office and bullish to see them liking the coin that I like, but we'll see how much time it takes for them to, spring into action and start stacking on their balance sheets and sending the price to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, the timing of it all, right? Trump was just over in Asia. He met with Xi, and at the end of these long, like monumental trade negotiations, we got the Treasury Secretary coming out and tweeting about Bitcoin, right? I mean, like this is a pretty big deal, to be completely honest. And it just, it goes to show you the rapid change in terms of the Washington's outlook on the orange coin and what it can do for them as well, right? Bitcoin was looked at as the enemy and the the reason why they needed to have Operation Choke Point 2.0 and the anti-crypto army under Biden and Elizabeth Warren. And now we are in a whole entire different world. Funnily enough, one more video to play before we head out here, but this was last night, just talking about the administration and crypto and where we are right now.
Here, the president has pardoned or shortened the sentences of more than 1,600 people. The latest pardon was for a cryptocurrency tycoon who is known as CZ. The company CZ founded, Binance, helped boost the profile of the Trump family's crypto firm, World Liberty Financial. He pled guilty in 2023 to violating anti-money laundering laws.
Right.
The government at the time said that CZ had caused significant harm to U.S. national security, essentially by allowing terrorist groups like Hamas to move millions of dollars around. Why did you pardon him?
Okay, are you ready? I don't know who he is. I know he got a 4-month sentence or something like that, and I heard it was a Biden witch hunt.
In 2025, his crypto exchange Binance helped facilitate a $2 billion purchase of World Liberty Financial's stablecoin. And then you pardoned CZ. How do you address the appearance of pay for play?
Well, here's the thing. I know nothing about it because I'm too busy doing the other.
But he
I can
got a
only
pardon.
tell you that.
But he got a
No,
pardon.
I can only tell you this. My sons are into it. I'm glad they are because it's probably a great industry, crypto. I think it's good. You know, they're running a business. They're not in government.
Because you were
Amazing, right?
I know nothing about it.
I don't know who the guy is. I don't know. But yeah,
Forever quotable.
yeah, he's nothing but hilarious, right? I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day. But yeah, it's crazy. His sons are running American Bitcoin, a Bitcoin miner. They just added another 1,400 Bitcoin to their reserves, making them a top 5 miner in terms of the size of their strategic Bitcoin reserve. The family's all in. The Trumps are all in. He can plead ignorance, but he also knows that he's got over like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? So
Yeah. It doesn't hurt.
it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. The CZ thing, I actually didn't follow that too closely. To my understanding, they weren't like performing KYC and AML stuff like appropriately. But did anybody like lose funds, or was there actually like any proven like crime, or was
No
it just
one
not
lost funds.
adhering?
But Binance was a lot, as they said, like Hamas, I think the Taliban, I think a lot of quote unquote bad guys were moving money through Binance. And the way that they were able to get their money on there was that they just turned their eyes when it came to the KYC stuff for them. So
Gotcha. Yeah, that's
yeah.
not a great look.
yeah, but I mean, Elizabeth Warren came out and said he's a money launderer, CZ, but technically he was not charged with money laundering. It was just this KYC AML stuff. He did his 4 months and he was out, but now he's fully pardoned by the president. And it does bear some questions as to if we do get a Democratic administration, how are they going to look at these last 4 years of Trump and his crypto dealings? And is it putting an even larger target on our backs after Trump is gone? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big risk, right? It's not necessarily the laws that are in place, but how people enforce them. Sometimes, the laws never change, but the enforcement changes every 4 years. You just kind of have to cross your fingers, hope for your best, and build and invest in this way that like you don't get arrested, don't go to jail. So use open source stuff. Let's work on this industry. Let's keep making sure that it keeps getting better and better and helps everybody. Because I think the more people we have on board, it's going to be harder and harder to take it away from us.
Absolutely. More people on board, the better off we are. I completely agree. Well, Pete, this is the conclusion of our hour here. I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. You definitely added a lot of great insight here.
Thank you, Rob. It's been fun chatting with you outside of the bar.
Yes. Wow. Imagine that. So yeah, if people want to find out more about you or OpenNode, where should they go?
You can always go to opennode.com if you have a business and you want to accept some payments. Maybe go to opennode.com/sign up. You can go through our little sign up process. We can get you onboarded. You can start accepting Bitcoin over Lightning without having to manage channels, all sorts of fun stuff like that. If you want to find out more about me, just go to primal.net/Pete. That's way easier than reading my NPub out loud. That's probably the only social I'll ever check again. I've deleted most of the other ones. If you haven't done that yet, I suggest it. It is kind of nice. You feel you can touch grass more. You're not addicted. The Outrage machine isn't after you 24/7. Rob, I know you can't, just the nature of your business, you got to be everywhere. But if you're not like Rob, be free, man. Be free. Get off X. It feels great.
Cheers. Yes, you are one of Noster's most vocal proponents, and I commend you for that. New technology definitely needs champions in order to reach that next level, and you are one of them. So
it's like Bitcoin. It's not going to be as easy as just taking the common path, but it's like twice as worth it. At least that it's going to be like 10x is worth it.
I hear you. No, I'm over there. I check it out.
Oh
on a
yeah,
daily
no.
basis.
I'm not convincing you. Just anybody who's listening.
Cool. Everybody, well, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Bitcoin News Weekly Live. We are here every Monday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, right after the newsletter comes out at 7 a.m. So sign up for the newsletter, check us out live, hit that like button, repost this video. Pete needs to get out there more. People need to see his face and hear his wisdom, and check out OpenNode. He's doing good work over there. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next week, we'll be back. Bye-bye.
See ya.